Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This session will be recorded. Questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Please use the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen to submit questions. You will receive an email after the program with a link to the evaluation and the program activity code. The activity code will be in the email and is listed on the evaluation instructions. The code is 6426. Don't panic if you did not write this down, it will be in your email. Once you have completed the evaluation, you can print or save the certificate. Social work credit is pending. Once approved, social workers will receive a certificate. Again, questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Please use the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen to submit questions. I would now like to introduce to you Tiffany Evans. Tiffany Evans is the Nevada SOAR coordinator housed within Clark County Social Service. She is a licensed social worker in Nevada and holds a bachelor and master's degree in social work. Having worked in multiple social service settings, Tiffany empowers, educates, and advocates for the most vulnerable populations to increase self-sufficiency. Within her role as the Nevada SOAR coordinator, Tiffany provides statewide coordination and training for the Nevada SOAR Works project by collaborating with community partners to identify and implement strategies to improve the quality and quantity of SSI, SSDI applications completed using SOAR practices. Tiffany also strives to educate and inform direct service providers and the community about the various resources available for those experiencing or at risk of homelessness in Southern Nevada. Tiffany, I'll let you get started.
All right, good morning, everyone. So thank you, Jean, for that introduction. So my name is Tiffany Evans, and I am so happy and excited to be kicking off this summer learning series, talking today with you all about the need for SOAR and working with high vulnerable populations. So this learning series is brought to you free in collaboration with Clark County Social Service, SOAR Works, the Ryan White Part A Transitional Grant Area, the Nevada AIDS Education and Training Center, and UNR's Office of Continuing Medical Education. So this learning series was designed with the hopes of improving knowledge, skills, and service delivery for providers throughout the state of Nevada. So, all right, so before we get started, there is a disclaimer. So the views, opinions, and content expressed in this presentation do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of the Center for Mental Health Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. All right, so before we get started, let's kick things off with a poll question. So this should be popping up on your screen. So please take a moment to answer this two-part question. So, are you wearing pajamas right now? No, but I wish. Yes, 100%. Business on top, PJs on the bottom, or I literally took them off a minute ago. And then please indicate your experience with SOAR. So I am SOAR certified and have submitted SOAR applications. I am SOAR certified and have not submitted SOAR applications. I went online and looked at the course, but I did not complete it, or I am not familiar at all with SOAR. So we'll give you a second to answer this poll question. All right, so let's close the poll and see what we got. All right, so yeah, wow, I'm kind of surprised not a lot of you guys are wearing pajamas. I'm not wearing pajamas either, so I am business on top and bottom. Let's see, so looks like 31% of you guys are not familiar with SOAR. Well, that's okay. So whether you are experienced in providing SOAR services, or if you've never heard of it, there is a little something for everyone today. So with that being said, let's talk about our learning objectives. All right, so today we are going to learn more about the SOAR model, which is a best practice supported by SAMHSA. Share the importance of supplemental security income and social security disability insurance benefits, an overview of how circumstances of vulnerable populations can impede access to income and healthcare benefits, and then offer opportunities for community members to get involved with SOAR. So first things first. So what is SOAR? So SSI, SSDI, Outreach, Access, and Recovery. SOAR is a model that is designed to increase access to Social Security Administration disability benefits for eligible individuals who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness, and who have a mental illness, medical impairment, and or a co-occurring substance use disorder. So this work is important as many people with disabilities who experience homelessness or are at risk of homelessness struggle to access the resources that they need. So some examples include those returning to the community from institutions such as jails, prisons, or hospitals. Many suffer from disabling mental illnesses, co-occurring substance use, trauma, and medical issues that impact their ability to work. The path to recovery can be extraordinarily challenging when one is constantly struggling to meet their basic needs. Having income and healthcare benefits is often a critical first step on the road to recovery. So this model is sponsored by SAMHSA in collaboration with Social Security Administration since 2005. SOAR is a national program used in all 50 states, including Washington, D.C. So a little bit about the SOAR Works project. So this project aims to fulfill objectives that are outlined in the Nevada Interagency Council on Homelessness, their strategic plan to prevent and end homelessness. The NVICH has determined SOAR to be an essential resource for providing effective wraparound services to those affected by homelessness. Under this plan, strategies include statewide training and collaboration amongst the 3-state continuums of care. So Northern Nevada, Rural Nevada, and the Southern Nevada Homeless COC. So the COCs and their respective service providers all work in a local network to provide a community-wide commitment to the goals of ending homelessness and to improve the quality of service delivery. So again, although this is a statewide initiative, the Nevada SOAR project is currently housed within Clark County Social Service under the Southern Nevada COC. Funding is provided by the Cooperative Agreement to Benefit Homeless Individuals, CABI, state grant. CABI's primary goal is to ensure that the most vulnerable people experiencing homelessness and chronic homelessness receive access to housing, treatment, and recovery supports. These people often include veterans, families, and youth. All right, so first things first. So resources matter. So this may look familiar to you. So this is the Maslow's hierarchy of need. So basically what Maslow states from this, this hierarchy of need is basically that humans are driven or motivated by needs that have not been satisfied or met. So in order to reach self-actualization, an individual has to first meet needs from the physiological, safety and security, love and belonging, and self-esteem. Our things such as our basic needs are identified in the physiological and the safety portions of this hierarchy. So again, our basic needs of shelter, food, water, air, and sleep have to be met before things such as finding a job, obtaining health insurance and health care, contributing to a savings account can be satisfied. So SOAR can assist with obtaining resources to meet the basic needs and assisting a client with moving to the next level. So let's talk a little bit about the basics of SSI and SSDI. SSA benefits are really a means of helping a person to stabilize their life. So there are two disability programs that are federally funded and administered by the Social Security Administration. Supplemental Security Income, also known as SSI, and then Social Security Disability Insurance, known as SSDI. So it is very easy to confuse them. So let's take a look at some of the differences and similarities. So SSI is a needs-based program for individuals who are blind, disabled, or elderly with low income and resources. Whereas SSDI is for blind and disabled individuals who are insured through employee or employer contributions to the Social Security Trust Fund. Medicaid and Medicare are health insurance that are accompanied with these benefits for those who are eligible. So for SSI, the benefit rate for 2020 is $783 per month. So this does change annually due to the cost of living adjustments, also known as the COLA. So some states do provide like an extra state supplement in addition to the benefit rate. Nevada, however, is not one of those states. Eligibility is determined based upon the protective filing date, which is the date an applicant first notifies SSA with an intent to apply. Since SSI is a needs-based, the non-medical information required for the application is detailed to determine the person's current income, assets and resources that they may have, as well as their living arrangement. All of these things can have an effect on a person's eligibility and the benefit amount that they receive. Medicaid is the associated health insurance program for SSI recipients. So for SSDI, the monthly amount is based upon earnings history. So this is different for every individual. There is no set amount. Personal resources and living arrangements don't affect a person's don't affect their benefit amount. The date of eligibility is determined by the date of onset of the disability that is determined by Disability Determination Services, or DDS. Eligibility begins 5 months after the date of onset, and Medicare is usually provided after 2 years of eligibility for benefits. So although these two are very different benefit programs, they do share some similarities, including that both programs utilize the same application process and have the same criteria for determining disability based on medical evidence and functional abilities. So I think it's time for our next poll question. So again, this should be popping up. So what do you guys think? Nationally, what percentage of individuals who apply for SSI or SSDI are approved on the initial application? What do you guys think? All right, we will give you a second, a few more seconds. All right, let's go ahead and close the poll. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so 45% of you got this correct. Okay, so 29%. So let's close this. So nationally, only about 29% of those who apply for SSI and SSDI are approved. For people who are homeless or have no one to assist them, that percentage is cut by more than 1/2. When applications are denied, appeals can take an average of 1 year to complete, And in that time, the applicant often becomes hopeless and discouraged. So circumstances can impede access to income and healthcare benefits. SSA communicates mainly by mail, which is a huge challenge when someone does not have a permanent or reliable address. People who are experiencing homelessness often have sporadic medical care, making it difficult to access medical records to document a disability. Symptoms can also interfere with cognitive functioning, making it very difficult to navigate a very complex system. So SOAR really helps to overcome these type of barriers. So let's take a look at the application process. So step one includes the application is initiated and submitted to Social Security Administration, or SSA. So the SSI and SSDI application process starts when an individual or their authorized representative first contacts SSA to apply for benefits. So this is also known as establishing the protective filing date. And this can be done in person, by phone, fax, mail, or through an online submission. Step two is non-medical eligibility is determined by an SSA claims representative. So this representative assembles and reviews the non-medical information, such as living arrangements, income, assets, resources, as well as work credits. So if the application meets non-medical eligibility requirements, it moves on to step three, where SSA will then transfer the claim to Disability Determination Services, or DDS. The claim is assigned to a disability examiner or an adjudicator who determines the medical eligibility. They do this by requesting medical records from providers that have been listed as treatment providers on the application. In addition to medical records, functional information, work history, and other information is assembled and reviewed. So step five, so once a decision has been made on the medical eligibility, DDS returns that record back to SSA. And then the final step is SSA notifies the applicant of the determination by letter. And if approved, the applicant may need to confirm information or establish a representative payee at the SSA office. All right, so what makes SOAR so unique and different? So the SOAR model really encourages communication and a collaborative process among SSI and SSDI benefit applicants, case managers, SSA and DDS representatives, as well as community providers. So it's really about how can we work together to submit a quality application on behalf of the clients that we work with. So the SOAR training prepares case managers to assume a central role in gathering complete, targeted, and relevant information for SSA and DDS, which in turn helps the disability determination process move more smoothly and quickly. The SOAR model seeks approval on initial applications, again, avoiding the needs for appeals, and works to increase access to supportive services. So the SOAR model for completing SSI and SSDI application uses 5 critical components that significantly increase the likelihood of an approval for those who are eligible. So let's talk a little bit about each of these 5 critical components. So the first one is serving as the applicant's representative. So as I mentioned earlier, SSA and DDS's primary method of communication is by mail. So applicants experiencing homelessness may not have a phone or a place to receive their mail. The SSA 1696 Appointment of Representative form is used to authorize the case manager as the applicant's representative. The completion of this form allows for the case manager to receive copies of all correspondence and notices mailed to the applicant, as well as to communicate directly with SSA and DDS to provide additional information when needed. The second is collecting and submitting medical records. So without the help of SOAR, DDS adjudicators must solicit records from treatment providers reported by the applicant. So the applicant may not provide sufficient information or it can take a long time for providers to respond to DDS's request. DDS adjudicators must base their determination on the medical and other evidence that is available. So in order to provide SSA and DDS with sufficient medical evidence of the applicant's disability, SOAR case managers collect and submit medical records as part of the SSI and SSDI application. So this ensures that SSA and DDS receive the information that they need to make the best decision possible. So through communication with the applicant, as well as community collaborations with local providers and hospitals, SOAR case managers can often access medical records faster and ensure that the information is relevant and complete. So the third thing is writing and submitting a medical summary report. And this is one of SOAR's signature components. So the DDS adjudicator will never meet the applicant, and it is very rare for them to even speak to them over the phone. So this is an opportunity for the SOAR case manager to tell the applicant's story. So the medical summary report, or MSR, is a SOAR signature tool and key to a successful application. So it is a letter that is written by the case manager and submitted to DDS as part of the medical evidence. The medical summary report provides an overview of the applicant's life story and how they became with their current circumstances. It provides a condensed, comprehensive summary of the applicant's medical treatment history and describes any functional impairments that stem from psychiatric or medical conditions that affect their ability to work. The fourth critical component is obtaining a co-signature on the medical summary report by an acceptable medical source. So an MSR that is co-signed by an acceptable medical source will be considered to be a medical opinion. So acceptable medical sources include physicians, psychiatrists, psychologists, advanced practice registered nurses, physician's assistants, and audiologists. So it is not necessary for these providers to actually write the medical summary report, and they are not responsible for determining if an applicant meets SSA's disability criteria. The medical summary report is still a very powerful piece of evidence, even if a co-signature cannot be obtained. The fifth critical component is completing a quality review of applications prior to submission. So SOAR strives to complete and high quality applications. So it's really about getting it done right the first time. And the SOAR model recommends that a review of the application is done prior to submission to SSA. So this ensures that all of the forms are completed correctly, there's nothing missing, and that the medical summary report thoroughly links the applicant's diagnosis to their limitations in functioning. So now I'm going to play a video for you that highlights how the SOAR application process and implementing the SOAR critical components differs from the conventional application process and helps the disability determination process move more smoothly and quickly.
We'd like to talk about the process that the Social Security Administration, SSA, and the Disability Determination Services, DDS, use to process disability applications. This disability determination process has some common elements that are present for the majority of initial applications. However, every application is unique, and a number of things may delay the process for applicants whose applications are not complete or who do not have sufficient medical evidence to document their disability. SOAR works to develop complete applications, provide quick follow-up, and ensure ongoing communication with SSA and DDS. Using SOAR, we can help shorten processing times by submitting medical records with the application, as well as a medical summary report that provides a complete picture of the applicant's ability to function as it relates to work. We're going to take a look at the conventional process and compare it to the SOAR process to show you what a difference SOAR can make. The process begins when a service provider receives a referral or meets someone for the first time. The conventional service provider and the SOAR provider will likely begin in similar ways. They will contact SSA to set the applicant's protective filing date. The conventional provider will do this either by calling SSA, starting the application online, or going into the local office. All of the conventional methods are also available to SOAR providers. In addition, some areas have established a process to fax the SOAR consent form to the local SSA office, indicating the applicant's intent to file. This is where the paths begin to diverge. The conventional service provider will likely give the applicant bus fare and directions to the local SSA field office and encourage them to attend their appointment as scheduled. It is not uncommon for the applicant to miss this appointment, which must be rescheduled. The applicant will then sit with the SSA claims representative and verbally provide as much information as possible. There are often additional required supporting documents that the applicant does not have, which must be brought to the field office on another visit. The application may or may not be flagged as homeless. The SOAR provider will begin an intensive interviewing process to collect complete historical, medical, and functional information from the applicant. The applicant will sign authorizations for the SOAR provider to collect their medical records. The SOAR provider sends those requests out to all of the applicant's treatment providers and continues to follow up for new information. The SOAR provider will complete the SSDI application and the disability report online. They will complete the SSI application on paper and have the applicant sign an SSA 1696 Appointment of Representative form and an SSA 827 Authorization to Disclose Information. Within 60 days of the protective filing date, the SOAR provider will have completed their medical summary report and compiled all available records. They will make an appointment to hand deliver this complete packet to the local SSA office. The SSA claims representative will flag the application as a homeless claim and add SOAR to the remarks section of the electronic file. The next steps are the same for both applications. The local SSA office will make a non-medical decision for SSI and SSDI eligibility. If the applicant is eligible for one or both of the programs, the application will be electronically transferred to the state-operated Disability Determination Services, or DDS, where a disability examiner is assigned. In some states, the SOAR application will be assigned immediately to an examiner who specifically handles SOAR claims. It is important to point out that if the conventional application was not flagged as homeless, it may take longer to get to the DDS and to be assigned to a disability examiner. The disability examiner will look at the SOAR application and review all of the evidence in the file. If they have any questions, they will contact the SOAR provider who submitted the claim as the applicant's appointed representative. If additional information is needed, the SOAR provider will quickly provide it. The disability examiner will be able to make a medical decision on the application and return the electronic file back to the originating SSA field office. SSA confirms the decision and notifies the applicant and the SOAR representative of the decision by letter. Once the conventional application is assigned to a disability examiner, they will begin collecting medical records from the sources listed on the disability report. They will send a request to each treatment source and then wait for the records to be returned. As they start to receive the records, they might notice another treatment source and send an additional request to the new source. Once they have gotten the records, they may decide that they do not have enough information to make a decision, so they may schedule a consultative exam with a contracted physician. Often, applicants who are experiencing homelessness don't have transportation or don't get the appointment notice, and so they do not make it to the scheduled appointment. They must then call the examiner and have the appointment rescheduled. The applicant attends the rescheduled consultative exam, and the consultative examiner has 30 days to complete their report. In the meantime, the disability examiner will have mailed a function report to the applicant and possibly a third party to complete. The examiner may need to contact the applicant to remind them to return their completed function report. An applicant without a phone or stable mailing address can be difficult to get in touch with. When the disability examiner finally has enough information to make a medical or disability decision, they will do so and return the electronic file to the local SSA field office, where SSA will confirm the decision and notify the applicant of the decision by letter. As we hope you can see, providing complete information up front and maintaining ongoing communication with both SSA and DDS will result in applications submitted with a SOAR provider being processed much more quickly, enabling the applicant to start receiving benefits sooner. We'd like to talk.
All right, so that video was developed by the SAMHSA TA Center, and it really outlines, excuse me, how the SOAR model can really expedite the process and the important role that the case manager plays. So we're going to talk a little bit about some national outcomes. So in 2019, nationally, there were 4,273 approvals on the initial application. Decisions on SOAR initial applications were received in an average of 108 days with an allowance rate of 63%. So again, this is in comparison to the initial allowance rate of 29% for all persons ages 18 to 64 who applied for SSI and SSDI. So cumulatively are the national outcomes. So of the applications assisted nationally using SOAR, 65% representing 43,486 people have been approved for SSI and SSDI upon initial application since SOAR began. An additional 6,591 people whose applications were initially denied were approved on reconsideration or appeal applications. So taken together since 2006, the SOAR approach is responsible for assisting over 50,000 people who were experiencing or at risk of homelessness to access Social Security disability benefits. So specific for our state, Nevada's 2019 outcomes, we have an overall approval rate of 77%. Decisions on SOAR initial applications were received in an average of 128 days. We do still have some work to do with training more case managers, specifically in our rural communities. However, 77% approval rate is not too shabby. So something that we as a state are really excited about and proud of is that this past year, Nevada was recognized as one of the 10 top states on approval rates. So to be part of the 10 top states criteria, basically you have to, states have to have had at least 300 cumulative decisions, approval rates at or above the national average in 2019, and have at least 24 decisions in 2019, on average 2 per month. So again, on average, the approval rate for the top 10 states for 2019 is 81%. So this is a huge accomplishment for our state. Oops. So just a little bit more. So in addition to our outcome success, we really have succeeded in other areas as well as a state. Our cumulative outcomes, so of the applications, again, assisted using SOAR, 81% representing 825 people have been approved for SSI and SSDI upon initial application since SOAR was implemented here in Nevada. So again, additionally, 286 people were approved on reconsideration or appeal applications. So again, taken together specifically for Nevada, our SOAR Works approach is responsible for assisting over 1,000 people who were experiencing or at risk of homelessness to access Social Security disability benefits. Something else that we really have succeeded with is training. So To improve learning and as well as to increase and manage participation for both the SOAR online course as well as in-person trainings, the Nevada SOAR leadership team implemented cohort style trainings. So we found that the cohort method of training improves the quality and the retention of the SOAR training material and reduce the number of participants who do not complete the online training. So due to these support and the training efforts, Nevada has seen an increase in the number of individuals served and in the approval rates for both initial and reconsideration claims. In addition to SOAR training, other trainings were offered throughout our state, including a yearly training summit, such as this one, offering a variety of topics related to case management and service delivery, as well as partnering and hopefully gaining some affordable housing within our community with working and engaging with landlords. So collaborations and partnerships. So we have really worked hard to develop a Nevada SOAR process and partnership with both SSA and DDS. So we have been able to identify a liaison at 3 out of the 4 SSA offices to communicate with SOAR trained case manager. The liaison is the main point of contact for checking current claim statuses, setting protective filing dates, and troubleshooting any issues that may arise during the application process. With DDS, we also have a specific team of adjudicators that are assigned SOAR applications and appreciate the quality of applications that are submitted. We send medical records, the medical summary reports, as well as missing information or additional information directly to the adjudicators, reducing delays. So these liaisons really understand and take into consideration the circumstances of high vulnerable populations, and they work with the SOAR case managers on sometimes thinking outside the box to get information needed to make the best decision on the claim. SOAR practitioners meeting. So we have a standing monthly meeting where we have great participation from SSA and DDS reps, as well as from the SAMHSA TA Center, our local leads, and SOAR case managers statewide to discuss and communicate process changes, resolve barriers, and share about our successes and challenges. Our SSA and DDS liaisons also provide targeted training directly to our service provider organizations on completing SSI and SSDI applications, the online disability report, and the medical summary report. So here in Nevada, we do have a few dedicated SOAR positions. So we know that it is best practice to have dedicated SOAR positions. And again, there are a few agencies that have them, including Washoe County Human Services, Veterans Administration, and WellCare Services. Oh, what happened? Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with the screen.
Are you working on a Mac?
No.
You zoomed in.
I zoomed in.
Just try stop sharing.
Okay.
And then relaunch it.
Let's see. Stop sharing. Okay. No.
When you click the next slide, does it do anything?
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry.
You did great.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right. Let's talk about Social Security's definition of disability for adults. Federal and state agencies, including SSA, define the term disability in various ways. So it is really important to understand how SSA defines disability when assisting individuals with applying for SSI and SSDI. So SSA's definition of disability includes the inability to engage in substantial gainful activity by reasons of any medically determinable physical or mental impairments that have lasted or expected to last for a continuous period of at least 12 months or result in death. So the Social Security Administration recognizes that a person can have a serious illness or condition, yet still be able to work. So for example, many people with serious mental illnesses in recovery can still work with ongoing treatment. Many individuals enjoy the benefits of working, including an income that goes beyond meeting the most basic needs, a sense of accomplishment and identity, and the satisfaction of being productive members of their community. So for substantial gainful activity, so basically this means that an individual is unable to earn $1,260 per month. So that is the rate for 2020. And again, each year this increases. So again, the inability to earn or engage in the being able to earn $1,260 per month. So SOAR really helps people to access SSI and SSDI in the hopes that they will eventually be able to enjoy the benefits of working or being, productive members of their community. So SOAR has broader goals. So it's really about having a mindset about how can SOAR change outcomes. So SSA disability benefits can provide access to income, housing, health insurance, treatment, and other supportive services. We also see an increase in education and employment opportunities, as well as a decrease in incarcerations and hospitalizations. It is also about assisting those to overcome or manage their disease or diseases or symptoms, really about making informed and healthy choices that support physical and emotional well-being. Having a stable and safe place to live is a huge contributing factor, and having purpose, to do meaningful daily activities such as a job, volunteering, taking care of family, and the independence of income and resources to participate in society. And, again, being part of a community, so being able to have relationships and social networks that provide support, friendship, love, and hope. So how do states and communities benefit? So SSI and Medicaid bring federal dollars into states, localities, and community programs. So healthcare providers can recoup costs for any uncompensated care. State and localities can recoup the cost of public assistance that is provided. And then cash benefits and back payments received by individuals are spent in the local community. So again, for 2019, it is approximately $463 million was spent in local communities. So community collaborations, so SOAR does not function without collaboration. We rely heavily on our community partners. So first and foremost, Social Security Administration, they are an essential collaborator. So SSA is the federal agency that administers the SSI and SSDI benefit programs. Because SSA is federal, their eligibility rules are the same in every state. And again, SSA is the agency that makes that non-medical decision on a SSI and SSDI claim. Disability Determination Services is also a very huge collaboration that we have here. So they work in partnership with SSA to make the medical or disability determination. DDS is often an unknown player in the process, but with SOAR, they are absolutely key. Medical and treatment providers are also extremely important. So as SOAR case managers, you will have to access assessments or set up assessments, evaluations, as well as to request corresponding medical records that support the claim and the reasons as to why an individual is unable to work. Involving partners from criminal justice organizations, Veterans Affairs, and employment programs, as well as housing providers, help to ensure that individuals who are served by SOAR are receiving comprehensive services and support, and that to make sure that our program is not operating in a silo. All right, so it's time now for our next poll question. So when thinking about vulnerability, vulnerability results from the effects of a limitation of which factors or resources? Physical factors, environmental factors, personal resources, biopsychosocial resources, or all of the above? All right, we will go ahead and close the poll and review the results. All right, yes, all of the above, 96% of you guys, all of the above. So vulnerability results from the combined effects of limited physical, environmental, personal resources, and biopsychosocial resources. So it's a combination of all of these things. So let's talk about who are the vulnerable. So really, excuse me, anybody can be vulnerable when you think about it. However, for the context of our training today, we're going to define vulnerable populations as groups and communities who may be at higher risk for poor health outcomes, exploitation, or adverse effects as a result of barriers they experience to social, economic, political, environmental resources, as well as limitations due to illnesses and disabilities. So these can include individuals that are from part of racial and ethnic minority groups, uninsured and the underinsured, low-income families with children, frail older adults, the mentally and physically disabled, individuals who are homeless, rural Americans, immigrant and migrant farm workers, and people living with HIV/AIDS. So outcomes of vulnerability oftentimes can be very negative, such as poor health outcomes, or they can be positive with effective interventions such as SOAR and wraparound services. So it is important to understand that often there is a cycle to vulnerability. So sometimes when one problem is solved, another quickly emerges. So one thing happens, then another and another. And this can quickly lead to feelings of helplessness. So when working with vulnerable populations, it's important to meet the client where they are, create a trusting environment, show respect, compassion, and concern. Do not make assumptions. Know when to walk beside the client and when to encourage the client to walk ahead. Know what resources are available and encourage warm handoffs, and develop your own support network. So if you are burnt out, this often leads to compassion fatigue, and really that's not good for anyone. So for Nevada, as of 2019, Nevada's population was over 3 million people. Of that, 12.9% of the population is in poverty. The poverty rate in rural Nevada is 10.9% compared with 13.2% in the urban areas of the state. Poverty is not just about how much money you make. It really is a condition of a person who lacks resources, means, and opportunities, as well as power to apply or maintain economic self-sufficiency or integrate into and participate in society. So approximately 7,544 people were homeless on a given night. And of that, 1,404 were youth, 486 were families, and 723 were veterans. Currently, Nevada ranks 18th in the nation for the number of individuals diagnosed with HIV. In addition, Nevada's HIV profile is unique in that HIV infections span across all age groups, and there are people living with HIV in all 17 counties in Nevada. 11.9% of the population in Nevada are without health insurance. And vulnerable populations are more likely to develop health problems as a result of exposure to risk, or to have worse outcomes from the health problems than the population as a whole. They are also more sensitive to risk factors because they often are exposed to multiple risk factors at a time. So let's talk a little bit about some of these vulnerable populations. So people experiencing homelessness. So the point in time count, also known as the homeless census, is a visual count of sheltered and unsheltered homeless individuals and families who are living in places not meant for human habitation, like the streets or in cars, parks, and abandoned buildings. It is conducted every year over the course of one night or day during the last 10 days of January. And it is required for all continuums of care per the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. From this count, we learn about homelessness in our community, including the causes of homelessness and barriers to housing stability. So over 567,000 people in the United States were experiencing homelessness on a single night in January in 2019. And again, specifically for Nevada, that was about 7,544 people. Top causes of homelessness and barriers to housing is due to lack of employment or income, due to structural factors, personal circumstances, poverty, system failures, and domestic violence, as well as substance abuse and mental illness. Approximately 23% of homeless adults suffer from some form of severe and persistent mental illness. Addiction disorders such as drug abuse and alcoholism affect about 30% of the homeless population. People with disabilities who experience homelessness frequently have challenges navigating the disability application process, so they often lack required forms of identification and documentation due to their limited access of ongoing healthcare services. People experiencing homelessness often do not have current or quality medical records that document their disabilities. The inability to document a disability can be a major barrier to receiving SSI and SSDI benefits to which individuals are otherwise entitled. This is the reason as to why there are so many denials. Individuals experiencing homelessness may not have a way to receive correspondence by mail, have limited experience working with computers, or have limited access to the internet to take advantage of electronic processes. Because of these challenges, many people experiencing homelessness often do not complete the SSI or SSDI application process, experience longer application and processing times, or have their applications denied due to a lack of information. Organizations serving people experiencing homelessness really have the opportunity to play a key role by linking eligible adults to SSI and SSDI benefits. So there are so many misconceptions around the issue of homelessness. This misinformation is problematic as it further contributes to the stigmatization of a population that is already marginalized. Homelessness often times is not a choice, and many people are homeless for many reasons, including the lack of structural supports for those experiencing poverty, job loss, and inadequate discharge planning from those leaving hospitals, correctional facilities, and mental health facilities. So on your screen, there's a bunch of myths, okay? So these are all false, okay? So people do not choose to be homeless. Again, there are a variety of different factors that can contribute to an individual's experience of homelessness. Again, often people experience homelessness when all other options have been exhausted, or they are dealing with circumstances that make it difficult to maintain housing. Some of the obstacles that may lead people to their experiences of homelessness include evictions, the affordable housing crisis, and coping with mental illnesses or addictions, which make it difficult to maintain independent housing. People experiencing homelessness are not lazy. In order to survive, many people who experience homelessness are constantly in search for the necessities of life, such as food, shelter, and a source of income. Therefore, due to these barriers that they face, many people experiencing homelessness do not have the option of being stagnant or lazy. For example, searching for a job becomes even more challenging when an individual does not have access to a phone, computer, or a permanent address on a regular basis. People who experience homelessness, not all of them are addicts. Again, they do not struggle with substance abuse problems or addictions. Just like in the general population, only a percentage of those who are experiencing homelessness deal with addictions. People experiencing homelessness may deal with other issues related to their experience of homelessness, including trauma and mental illness, for example. And again, there's a myth about people who are experiencing homelessness should just find a job. There are already people experiencing homelessness who are actually employed. However, it is much more difficult to find a job while experiencing homelessness. A number of challenges, such as lack of a permanent address, not having regular access to showers, barriers to transportation, and other difficulties like mental illness make it difficult to obtain employment. Even when individuals experiencing homelessness find jobs, they are often only part-time or minimum wage positions. This work fails to adequately meet their needs due to the expensive housing costs. So there are many faces to homelessness. Homelessness can happen to a family that is struggling after a recent job loss and only have enough savings to last a month. A disabled senior who can't afford housing, groceries, and his medications. A veteran struggling to find a job in the civilian workforce. An LGBTQ teen who is no longer welcome at home after coming out to his family. A mom and her child who is fleeing an abusive partner, and a man with serious mental illness and polysubstance abuse disorder who has lived on the streets for a decade. SOAR seeks to end homelessness through increased access to SSI and SSDI income supports. SSA disability benefits can provide access to income, health insurance, treatment, and supportive services, and mainstream benefits. All right, our last poll question. Let's get that up on the screen. So true or false? SOAR's primary goal is to make sure that all adults who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness apply for disability benefits. What do you guys think? True or false? Alrighty, let's close the poll. Look at these results. Okay, so 37% of you guys said this is true, and 63% of you guys said this is false. So the correct answer is false. It's important to understand that not all people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness have disabilities that result in severe impairment. The goal of SOAR is to ensure that all individuals who are eligible for SSI or SSDI benefits have access to those benefits on their initial application. All right, so now let's talk about adults with disabilities or special needs. So people with disabilities constitutes our nation's largest minority group. So 1 in 5 people have a disability. It is also the most inclusive and most diverse groups, as it includes all ages, genders, religions, ethnicities, sexual orientation, and socioeconomic levels are represented. Using people first language is so important, as it puts the person before the disability and describes what a person has and not who a person is. Some examples include saying people with disabilities rather than the handicapped or disabled, saying brain injury rather than brain damage. Tom has a mental health condition rather than he is emotionally disturbed or mentally ill. Disabilities, unfortunately, are often used to define a person's value and their potential. Not all disabilities are visible and can include those with progressive illness or a sudden accident, those who are blind or those with low vision, the deaf or hard of hearing, the medically fragile with unstable conditions, those with HIV/AIDS, diabetes, or those on life-sustaining medications. So for SSA's disability criteria, there has to be significant functional impairment. So for a person to qualify for SSA disability benefits due to a mental illness, the application must provide information illustrating significant functional impairment clearly tied to the person's diagnosis. So DDS assesses limitations in 4 areas of mental functioning. So the first one is understand, remember, or apply information. So this is really about a person's memory, their ability to follow instructions and solve problems. Interact with others, so getting along with others. Do they avoid certain things? Do they get very upset easily? Concentrate, persist, or maintain pace. So this is about task completion, focusing on details and distractibility at work. And then adapt or manage oneself. So again, this is about hygiene, responding to change, and setting realistic goals. For a person to qualify due to a physical impairment, the application must demonstrate significant limitations in meeting the physical, mental, sensory, and other requirements of work. A limited ability to perform certain physical demands of work activity, for example, sitting, standing, walking, lifting, carrying, may reduce the ability to do past work and other types of work. So now I'm going to share a video about how to interact with those with disabilities and special needs.
Good morning, Bob.
Morning there, big man. Morning, Alice!
There's no need to be awkward.
Poor Bob. Like so many of us, he just doesn't know how to interact with people with disabilities.
It's pretty easy, really. People with disabilities are people first.
We need the same things that every person needs, like respect.
Good morning, everyone.
Attention!
Okay. Maybe we need to be more specific.
The easiest way to show respect is to focus on the person, not the disability. It's okay. You'll get the hang of it.
One easy way to focus on the person is to watch the person signing and not their interpreter.
Or their companion.
It's really cool that you'd like to help, but do us both a favor and please ask me first. What you think might be helping?
I got you.
Wait, ah! Oh no, might actually not.
If you'd like to offer me help, let me hold on to your elbow. Don't take mine.
Hey, would you like to take my arm?
Sure.
Assistive devices help us to live our lives. They're really important and really personal.
Grabbing them only makes it weird for everyone.
What? Please only touch our devices and service animals if we've given you permission. And don't take it personally if I ask you not to. Remember that my service animal helps me all the time. Neither of us would like it if we were separated.
Remember, we make our own decisions. We sign documents, vote, volunteer, work, and pay taxes.
We get married.
So don't underestimate me just because I have a great smile.
Just because I'm blind.
May I help you?
Does not mean I'm deaf.
I don't know. I think he said he was gonna come. Just because I'm deaf doesn't mean I'm blind.
And just because I use a wheelchair doesn't mean that I can't sweep you off your feet.
So take a deep breath. Relax. We don't bite.
Unless we're really hungry.
Hello there, ladies. How are you?
Hello. And if you're not sure what to do, just ask.
Hi, would you still like to see a menu?
No thanks, but can you please read it to me?
Sure, definitely.
Just treat us the way you would want to be treated, and we'll all be okay.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Alice.
Morning.
Awkward no more. Nice job, Bob. Go forth and be human.
There's no need to be awkward.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed that little video. So now let's talk about veterans. All right, so the January 2019 point in time count identified just over 37,000 veterans who were experiencing homeless across the United States. Half of veterans experiencing homelessness have severe mental illnesses, and over half of the other have health issues. There is a high prevalence of traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other types of trauma among homeless veterans, which can contribute to the difficulty in maintaining employment and housing. So SSA disability benefits can provide veterans access to income. So veterans can receive SSI and SSDI in conjunction with or as an alternative to VA disability benefits and health insurance. So veterans can use the Medicaid or Medicare health benefits that come with SSI and SSDI to supplement VA health services. For veterans with disabilities, SSI and SSDI can increase income and housing stability and reduce future risk of homelessness. There is an opportunity for staff serving veterans to help with both SSA and VA disability benefits. While there is a difference in the definition of disability, there can be an overlap in terms of what type of evidence is gathered. It should be best practice that staff assist veterans with applying for both at the same time. So there is some guidance on assisting assisting VA or veterans with applying for SSI and SSDI benefits. So the VA Homeless Program Office released this guidance. So this is SOAR Works to End Veteran Homelessness, a VA caseworker's guide. And it provides a step-by-step guide on using SOAR after completing the SOAR online course. and it's a crosswalk of where to find key information for SSI and SSDI and the VHA assessments, as well as full of tips on how to efficiently complete applications using the SOAR model. So this is available on the SOAR Works website as well as the VA website. All right, so justice involved persons. So people who are in jail or prison are not eligible to receive SSI or SSDI benefits while they are incarcerated. So their benefits are usually suspended. SSI benefits terminate if a person is in prison for more than a year. Individuals who are released from jail or prisons may need to contact SSA to reinstate benefits or to file a new application if benefits were terminated or if they have not previously received SSI or SSDI benefits. SOAR can play a role in transition planning and assist individuals by increasing access to SSI and SSDI benefits prior to re-entry into the community. A person can apply for benefits while they are incarcerated. Prior history of incarceration alone does not make someone ineligible or eligible for benefits. Warrants other than escape should not hinder a person from applying or receiving payments as well. So completing applications. So once an inmate or a prisoner has been notified of their release date, service providers can work with someone in the facility to begin the SSI and SSDI application process. If the institution has a pre-release agreement with the local field office, the claims representative will obtain an application from the claimant several months before their anticipated release. By doing so, SSA can begin processing the claimant's application, and benefits can start as soon as possible after release. Service providers can help by contacting Social Security to let them know of the claimant's upcoming release and identifying representative payees for claimants who are unable to handle their own finances. This is important because it is estimated that each year over 725,000 people are released from federal and state prisons. 125,000 of those individuals have been diagnosed with a serious mental illness. In addition, more than 20% of people with mental illnesses were homeless in the months before their incarceration, compared with 10% of the general prison population. Homelessness can be even more prevalent for those exiting the criminal justice system. So this data really highlights the need for people who are currently incarcerated to be linked to SSI and SSDI benefits prior to re-entry, to provide access to income, healthcare, housing, and overall stability for those unable to work because of physical or mental impairments. All right, children and youth. So children and individuals under the age of 18 with disabilities who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness, such as those aging out of foster care or belonging to families who are unable to pay for housing expenses, may struggle to access the resources that they need. Many children experiencing or at risk of homelessness have developmental disabilities, mental illness, trauma, and medical issues that impact their ability to function. The path to recovery can be extraordinarily challenging when a family is constantly struggling to meet their basic needs. Having income and healthcare benefits for children with disabilities is often a critical first step to improvement. So SSA's definition of disability for a child. So they define a child as an individual who has not attained the age of 18. So anyone under the age of 18. Definition of disability is different for a child as it is defined as a medically determinable physical or mental impairment which results in marked and extreme functional limitations and which can be expected or result in death or which has lasted for a continuous period of not less than 12 months. So rather than SSA looking at the ability to work at substantial gainful activity. SSA looks at the child's functioning or other things that they may struggle to do on a day-to-day basis as compared to children without disabilities of the same age. So there are 6 broad domains of functioning that are considered, and they are taking a look at different settings, including like the home, at school, and in the community. So SSA is looking to see a child's ability to learn and use new information, focus and maintain attention, initiate and sustain emotional connections with others, how they comply with rules, the development of their gross and fine motor skills, and then physical effects, physical or mental impairments, and how their associated treatments or therapies affect their functioning as well. So some considerations for SSI for children. So income and resources. So the income and resources of parents living with the child within the household are taken into account for eligibility. So if this equals out to more than the SSI full benefit rate, SSA will deny the child's application for SSI. There are separate forms and questionnaires for specific age groups. So DDS also considers the type and the amount of help that the child needs to complete age-appropriate activities. Thus, there are specific forms and questionnaires that are separated by specific age groups. Sources of medical and educational information. So there are 2 different criteria. So criteria A includes licensed physicians, school psychologists, physical, occupational, and rehabilitation therapists, and qualified speech language pathologists. And then criteria B is really those collateral sources. So parents, caregivers, neighbors, friends, educational personnel, daycare providers, babysitters, and psychiatric social workers. So youth and adults, so, or youth and young adults. So youth transitioning out of foster care are a particularly vulnerable population with a high risk of homelessness. Additionally, children and youth in foster care are more likely to have physical or mental disability than those not in foster care, which can make the transition out of foster care system more difficult. Young people with disabilities may be eligible for SSI when they transition out of foster care. For disabled youth aging out of the foster care system, service providers can work with eligible youth to start the process, the application process, 90 days prior to transition. A disabled youth transitioning out of foster care may file for SSI application if they live in a foster care situation. They allege that they have a blindness or a disability. They appear likely to meet all of the non-medical eligibility requirements when foster care payments terminate. Expects that the foster care payments to cease within 90 days of the application filing date and is within 90 days of losing foster care eligibility because of their age. So redetermination, so as a child, again, disability was determined by marked or severe functional limitations as compared to children without disability of the same age. However, now as an adult, the youth disability will be measured against their ability to perform that substantial gainful activity. So again, being able to earn that $1,260 per month. Foster youth can apply for SSI up to 6 months or 180 days before they leave care. And foster youth can submit an application and get a disability determination 6 months before their expected discharge date, even if they do not yet meet the income eligibility requirements due to their foster care payments. All right, rural communities. So while individuals experiencing or at risk of homelessness are more visible in urban settings, homelessness is also prevalent in rural areas. Roughly 80% of the United States is considered to be rural or frontier, and approximately 1 in 5 people reside in a rural community. These areas often have a higher rate of poverty and may lack the resources and services more readily available in urban areas. A lack of infrastructure and affordable housing may also exacerbate the issue of homelessness in rural communities. So homelessness in rural communities often looks different. People may live doubled up, reside in an extended family, or live in the woods or areas well outside of town. Rural homelessness is often referred to as the invisible problem because of a pervasive lack of awareness that homelessness is an issue in rural communities. And this is due to, again, the lack of obvious street homelessness in rural communities. Barriers to addressing homelessness include transportation. So large distances have to be traveled to reach services that are far and few between, and they're usually limited with no public transportation options available. Isolation, so rural areas can be isolating due to their expansiveness. People who are homeless often feel cut off from the services that are available in the area. Shortage of services, so few homeless specific providers are available in most rural areas, and mainstream services can be difficult to access and often are not structured to accommodate the homeless population. 20% of Americans live in rural areas, but only 9% of doctors practice there. Many have long distances to travel for healthcare, resulting in less visits and less preventative care. For individuals for individuals experiencing or at risk of rural homelessness, barriers to access Social Security disability benefits can be numerous. However, SOAR can assist. So there are some tips for SOAR case managers that are working with individuals in rural communities. And really, just due to the pandemic that we're currently in, a lot of providers are actually utilizing these ways. So collect as much information as possible at the first meeting. SOAR case managers working in rural areas often need to travel long distances to meet their applicants. Additionally, applicants may frequently move from place to place and lack reliable communication or transportation. As a result, case managers may only be able to meet with their applicant a few times. Use the telephone or Skype to communicate with your client. So if the case manager is not able to meet with the applicant in person, use technology when available. Ensure that there is a reliable third-party source, so whether it be a friend, a relative, or another case manager of the applicant, having a reliable third party who can locate the applicant and communicate with them is a key component of working in a rural setting. So throughout the county or country, rural and frontier communities are finding innovative ways to work with applicants and complete SOAR applications. Their efforts have resulted in more people receiving benefits, becoming stably housed, and progressing on the road to recovery. So currently 9.5% of the state's population resides in rural or frontier areas, as compared to the 90.5% residing in the state's 3 urban counties, Clark, Washoe, and Carson City. The rural and frontier population spreads over 95,000 square miles and takes up 86.9% of the state's land mass. So the map on the screen provides a snapshot of the major healthcare services available to rural and frontier residents of Nevada. A diverse range of acute care hospital services, outpatient clinics, and medical services are scattered across 12 of the state's 14 rural and frontier counties. So Story and Esmeralda counties, there are no healthcare facilities. The average distance between healthcare, acute care hospitals in rural Nevada and the next level of care is about 109 miles, and the average distance to the nearest incorporated town is 43 miles. Okay, so immigrants. So language barriers, the stress of immigration, socio-cultural dislocation, and discriminatory U.S. policies towards immigrants contribute to the likelihood that immigrant families are more vulnerable and therefore more likely to have health and mental health problems. So also refugees who escape hostile environments or have experienced traumatic events in their home country may need specialized counseling. Social work counselors with trauma training can help these individuals recover and move forward with their lives. So some tips and considerations when working with immigrants is to ask the family which language they prefer to use. Develop intake forms and other documents in a variety of languages. English and Spanish are really not enough. Ask questions about the family's ethnic background. Have access to a qualified translator rather than using children or other family members to translate. Partner with culturally specific agencies to ensure that each family receives appropriate services and case management. Provide advocates with training on cultural responsiveness, and ensure your program staff reflects the racial and ethnic diversity of your community. So for SSI and SSDI, there are 7 categories of non-citizens who are considered to be qualified aliens as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. In addition, a person can be deemed a qualified alien if under certain circumstances, the individual, their child, or their parent has been subjected to battery or extreme cruelty by a family member while in the United States. SSA does provide an array of information in 12 different languages and can also provide interpreter for when calling or visiting the Social Security office. Cultural competence and engagement. So SAMHSA does have available for free to download a treatment improvement protocol for improving cultural competence. It describes cultural competence and discusses racial, ethnic, and cultural considerations when delivering services to this population. So for people who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness or who are returning from community, from institutions such as jails, prisons, or hospitals, access to these programs can be extremely challenging. For those who have a serious mental illness, substance use issues, or co-occurring disorders that impair cognition, the application process is even more difficult. Yet accessing these barriers is often a critical first step in building resiliency and supporting recovery. Access to SSI and SSDI can be a major tool in recovery for both for mental illnesses and homelessness. With the income supports and health insurance that SSI and SSDI provides, individuals are able to meet their basic needs, maintain housing, and pay their bills. As a result, they will be more likely to keep appointments and engage in treatment. Without the support of a SOAR provider, it can take as long as 1 to 3 years to obtain approval for SSI and SSDI, during which time people often get lost in the process and require a great deal of community support to survive. With SOAR, with the SOAR approach, providers are achieving, again, a national approval rate of 65% in an average of about 100 days. This reward is great for everyone who is involved. So this is the SOAR leadership structure. So all of these players are ambassadors for the SOAR initiative, uniting in ending homelessness for individuals with disabling conditions. So we have the SOAR TA Center. So they facilitate strategic planning meetings. They conduct leadership academies, webinars, and learning communities. They develop resources, including SOAR Works, the SOAR online course, and the online application tracking system. And they provide technical assistance at all stages of SOAR implementation. So the SOAR, the state team lead, which is my position. So I facilitate steering committees, directs plans to grow and sustain statewide activities. serves as the liaison to localities, maintain relationships with SSA and DDS, and submits SOAR outcomes for our state to the TA Center. Local leads are case managers who have really have some experience with submitting SSI and SSDI application using the SOAR model. So they also help to facilitate steering committees. They help with local implementation plans, facilitates online course cohorts and in-person trainings, the Nevada specific process, and ensures that quality applications and reports outcomes as well. Case managers are the ones that also submit complete high quality SSI and SSD applications using the SOAR model. They are in constant communication with the local SSA and DDS representatives, and they track their outcomes on the applications that they have been able to submit. For SOAR trained service providers to be most successful, again, close collaboration with the SOAR state and local leads are important. So the SOAR state team works in coordination with the local SSA field offices and DDS to establish preferred methods of communications. So we are always looking for more SOAR local leads. So if this is something that maybe you might be interested in, you're invested in SOAR and the success of SOAR within the community, you have to have the time and ability to work with multiple agencies and have the capacity to assist with training and really developing local procedures or processes to help to alleviate some of the barriers that the populations we serve encounter. So there is always actually more needs for local leads in the rural communities. Training is provided to you by the TA Center. So if you are interested in that, just talk to me after. So the SOAR TA Center provides so much support. So again, they are the ones that monitor and administer the SOAR online course. They provide the SOAR Leadership Academy, the SOAR online application tracking program. They have a SOAR Works library that has so many resources and guides that you can utilize as you are using this model and assisting with SOAR applications. They have bi-monthly webinars as well as soaring over lunch calls just to talk about challenges and to hear about other SOAR practices that are being done in other communities as well. So some benefits of the SOAR online course. So the SOAR online course is a free standardized training that is interactive and self-guided training providers to assist individuals with SSI and SSDI application process. 20 CEUs are provided from the National Association of Social Workers. SOAR local leads coordinate follow-up training on our state-specific process and provide support to case managers assisting with applications to ensure that high quality and complete applications are submitted. We also track and monitor outcomes. The training often helps to reduce frustration during the application process, and case managers are more efficient in delivering the services and supports that the individual experiencing homelessness requires. So the SOAR online course consists of 7 classes, each of which have a series of articles, short quizzes, and a practice case. The practice case provides an opportunity for service providers to apply what they have learned by completing an SSI and SSDI application packet for a fictitious claimant using SOAR techniques. Video interviews, medical records, and progress notes provide the information needed to complete SSA forms and write a medical summary report for the fictitious claimant. The complete application packet is submitted to the SOAR TA Center for review, and feedback is provided. The online course covers everything from the basics of SSI and SSDI to supporting resiliency and recovery. as well as like reviewing other programs that can assist an applicant after they have received disability benefits. So again, the SOAR online course, there are 2 different curriculums. There's one specific for adults and one for children, and they are located on the SOAR Works website. So the time commitment, so the training and the online course take about 20 hours to complete each of the curriculums, and is usually done over the course of about 4 weeks. Participants are able to work at their own pace, starting and stopping as they wish. It is estimated that each SOAR application will take approximately 20 to 40 hours to complete, from initial engagement to receiving a decision on a claim. This generally occurs over the course of 60 to 90 days. So it's important to note that the time spent on each application will vary. So depending upon the amount of engagement that is needed, as well as other variables such as experience level of the SOAR worker. For example, engagement with an applicant who is residing in an institution may take 20 hours, while it may take longer to connect with somebody who is living outside or difficult to contact. So the SOAR critical components, so again, SOAR providers with higher approval rates credit their success to implementing the SOAR critical components and submitting high quality applications. Again, using these components significantly increase the likelihood of an approval on an initial application for those who are eligible. So again, the 5 critical components are serving as the applicant's appointed representative, completing all required SSA application forms online when available, collecting medical records, assessment, case management notes, and collateral information, writing a comprehensive medical summary report that includes psychosocial treatment and functional information, getting a co-signature by an acceptable medical source when available, and performing a quality review of the application prior to submission. So follow up, the work of a SOAR provider does not end after submitting an application. SOAR providers are expected to communicate regularly with SSA and DDS regarding the status of the applicant's claim, continuing ongoing outreach to stay connected throughout the determination process, and helping individuals obtain other needed services, so housing, employment, and healthcare. So this is a benefit to your agencies as well as the individuals that you serve. Without the support of a SOAR provider, again, it can take as long as 1 to 3 years to obtain approval on an SSI or SSDI application, during which time people, again, often get very frustrated and lose out on hope. So outcome tracking, so this is really important for our state. It's critical. It's a critical way to identify if what we are doing is effective. So tracking outcomes is an essential piece of funding and sustainability efforts. Outcomes can have an impact on potential funding in our communities. So it is also a great way to document your successes, as well as to kind of figure out and target technical assistance that is needed. So our state utilizes 2 methods to track outcome. Our primary database is the Homeless Management Information System, also known as HMIS. However, for those agencies who do not have access to HMIS, we also have the SOAR Online Application Tracking System. So the information that is tracked includes the number of applications that are submitted, which critical components were used, the actual outcome of the application, including approvals and denials, and how long did it take to receive a decision. Reimbursements are also tracked, so if any of the providers receive any recompensation for care, as well as any recoup of cost of benefits as well. So those are the things that are tracked in our outcomes. So in closing, SOAR promotes recovery and wellness through increased access to Social Security disability benefits, for eligible individuals who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness and have a serious mental illness, medical impairment, and or a co-occurring substance use disorder. SOAR providers assist these vulnerable individuals with the submission of complete and quality applications. This is not an easy task, however, it is well worth the effort. And this is why SOAR works and is needed. So feel free to connect with us. This is our state team, as well as our contact information. So again, we have local leads in the northern area as well as southern Nevada that are here and available to talk with you about more about SOAR. So some additional resources, including the SOAR Works website, tracking outcomes, information about disability and employment supports. So again, just want to say thank you for your participation in today's the summer learning series. SAMHSA's mission is to reduce the impact of substance abuse and mental illness on America's communities. And this is their contact information. So just a little bit more about the learning series. So again, it is brought to you free in collaboration with Clark County Social Services, SOAR Works, the Ryan White Part A Transitional Grant Area, and the Nevada AIDS Education and Training Center. Registration is still open for the other sessions. So if you haven't had a chance yet to register, you can still do that. So now I am going to open it up for Q&A with our Nevada SOAR team. I do believe we have some of our local leads as well as our liaisons on the line to help answer any questions that you guys may have.
And Tiffany, under the Q&A, there are some questions if you want to go ahead and review those.
Okay. Okay, so are we also getting a copy of the PowerPoint presentation today? Yes, this information I will coordinate to see how we can get this out to you guys, but yes, you guys will get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. So how do you find a SOAR social worker? So about our community, there is no community SOAR social worker. Instead, we have agencies that have SOAR trained providers that offer this service as part of a case management program or a service to clients that they are serving. Usually a person cannot just go into an agency and say, I need help with SOAR. Usually there's other components or other services that they are seeking, and then this is offered to them. So we do have a list of those agencies. Just remember that there is eligibility criteria for each agency and there's no guarantee for eligibility. However, the best way to provide this service is for you to actually get trained and provide this service to the clients that you work with. Let's see, if an SSD applicant is working part-time, if an SSD applicant is working part-time and was receiving SSD, but no longer receives SSD due to was over the money received limit, what should we do to help them get back on SSD? So as long as they are earning less than that substantial gainful activity, they could still be eligible. So it would just depend upon how long it's been since the benefits were terminated. So depending upon that, a new application would have to be submitted. So I would definitely refer you to your local social security office for that. I'm not sure if Mr. Nelson from SSA is on the line to help me with this question. Or is anybody from the team on the line?
I'm here. This is Yvonne.
Oh, hey, Yvonne.
Yeah, I'm Ambrosia. I'm here.
Hey.
I was trying to reread it to get some clarity on it. It looks like maybe they got an overpayment. It's maybe what Mr. Wallace is asking about. Like they were working part-time and at one point maybe earned enough to where they actually ended in an overpayment status. I'm thinking that's maybe what they're talking about. So you were right, Tiffany, like they would still have to reapply for eligibility purposes. And then if there is a need to do like arrangements for that overpayment from the past, and Social Security can work that out with them at the point that they go into a paid status, either by electing to waive it or go on payment plans or reducing the new benefit for that. If that's what he was getting at.
Yeah. Okay. So I hope that answered your question. Let's see. So regarding applications for SSI and SSDI, I have heard that you always get denied initially and then get approved on an appeal application. Is this true?
So, I don't know who wants to take this, or I could answer it if someone else doesn't.
Go ahead.
So I think there's that's one of the myths maybe to talk about, right, with SSI and SSDI and SOAR. So the reason that we find a lot of people do get denied, why we have those stats that Tiffany pulled you guys on earlier, which is that 29% of all applicants get approved. And then if they're experiencing homelessness, it actually cuts almost in half to like 15%. And the reason that happens is a lot of times it's a documentation issue. Either the application's incomplete, there's forms missing, signatures missing, there's medical evidence that's not being turned in. The claimant maybe didn't make an appointment that they should have made, like a consultative exam. And so all of those factors combined end up making it to where someone might have difficulty getting approved. And so that may be why we see such low outcomes when it comes to people doing this by themselves. So I don't think there's like a conspiracy or someone in the back with like a deny button in the back of the Social Security office waiting for forms to get across their, their desk and just hitting deny on everything. It really is a systemic issue that SOAR is trying to overcome. And with the SOAR model, we see more success with the interventions that Tiffany talked about earlier. And so that's why we hope to do like a one and done with the initial when we do everything that the SOAR model teaches.
Hi, this is Pam with the TA Center. I'll just comment on something that Ambrosia with the VA said. Ambrosia has had, and she shared a success story with the TA Center recently about a veteran she helped who was denied in the past, but because Ambrosia was able to assist with a new initial application, she was able to help this veteran who had very limited medical documentation, but her involvement, being able to represent him, get whatever records were needed, getting forms completed, she was able to be successive, with him. Because again, he probably wasn't aware of really what Social Security is looking for to prove disability, but it's, because of Ambrosia's knowledge of the process and how to engage this individual, she was able to be really successful with even having minimal medical documentation. So I just wanted to just do a shout out to Ambrosia for how SOAR works.
Thanks. Yeah, this was a person experiencing homelessness with some significant mental illness as a barrier in addition to that. And, he had a hard time going to the doctor and engaging with providers and trusting them. And so what we ended up doing is collaborating with DDS, getting some functional information. The case manager's observations for him at the homeless shelter really spoke to what he was going through barrier-wise and helped to make the difference for his case. And so again, the things that Tiffany talked about what SOAR teaches, if you go through the course, helps to change that direction for us to where we're not seeing so many denials up front. We can hopefully do it better at the beginning.
Great. Let's see. Can you speak on the Ticket to Work program for those clients who wish to attempt to work but struggle to work full time? Is the earned income deducted from the following month's benefit? So I'm not too familiar with the Ticket to Work program. However, part of the learning series is actually we are going to have a representative from Social Security Administration come and talk about Ticket to Work program as well as other employment programs that Social Security has. So that is scheduled for September 10th, 9 to 11. So definitely encourage you to register for that to find out more information about those different type of work programs. Let's see. So do you recommend DAA, Disability Action Advocates? Yeah, absolutely. I think that they are a great resource in our community for individuals who are needing some extra help with applying for SSI or SSDI benefits. But again, like I mentioned, the best way is for you to actually get trained and be able to provide this service because they do not have the same process as we do as SOAR providers. So yeah, but they are a really great agency in our community. Will we have a copy of today's topics? Yes, you will get a copy of the PowerPoint slides emailed out to you. Okay, so some SOAR requests are not being flagged as SOAR cases by the local SSA office prior to being transferred out of state for assistance in making a determination. Any suggestions on how to prevent this from occurring? Caseworkers put a lot of work into the SOAR process, and to learn that clients are denied without ever being flagged SOAR is, I'm gonna say frustrating because I can't see the rest of it. Does anybody want to answer that?
I can if nobody else does. This is Ambrosia.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So in the SOAR curriculum teaches us to write that it's a SOAR claim in the remarks so that both the local field office and DDS can see that. Sometimes that does get missed, you're right. And because our DDS can get overwhelmed, that's why they may contract with an out-of-state DDS to help them manage claims. But what you can do is if you are SOAR trained and you're working that claim, is you can contact our DDS directly and ask for it to be remanded back to our state. And they're actually pretty good about it. They've done it for me a few times when there was a claim missed here and there and it was transferred. Just let them know, hey, this is a SOAR claim. This is supposed to be in Nevada. And they'll help you out in getting it transferred back and assigned to a SOAR adjudicator. So it's fixable. It is frustrating, but it is fixable.
And I would just add that, you know, it's really about having that communication. Our DDS liaison, Jennifer Inkton, she is really good about communication, responding to phone calls and emails. And really, if you can call her or email her to see, you know, if the case has been assigned to a SOAR adjudicator. Again, we have a specific process here in Nevada where we have names of the SOAR adjudicators who are on the specific SOAR team. So if you're noticing that the case is not assigned to one of those, you can definitely let her know to try to get the claim reassigned back to one of the SOAR adjudicators. But yes, I do know that this does happen quite a bit, just because our adjudicators, there's a lot of work to be done. And usually they do contract with California.
I forgot to say too, making sure that Nevada SOAR referral form is sent timely to DDS helps to prevent that. Usually, I don't remember the timeline now, but usually it's like within a week of filing your claim, it's important to fax that to DDS so that they know that that claim's supposed to be flagged. If they don't get it in time, then that has happened to me too, where it's gotten assigned out because I didn't get the form in maybe timely enough for them to make sure it stayed in-house. So making sure you follow that step is important.
Okay. Can you please email me contacts from SSA for questions while helping a client? So if you are SOAR trained, yes, you will have the contacts for the SSA representatives. So yeah, that information you should receive or have as part of the SOAR practitioners community. Okay. So what are some challenges and or opportunities SOAR practices have faced as it relates to COVID-19? And I think this will be the last question.
Hi, this is Yvonne. I'll take a shot at this one. Some challenges that we've faced really is meeting with the client or not face-to-face. We've had to sort of adjust our processes. And what we've done is really we've taken the first meeting and we've actually done it in person so they can sign forms in a safe setting, of course, with social distancing. And then everything else we've done over the phone. So all the interviews or through the mail, we've had to do through the mail. But we've still been able to reach all the deadlines and we haven't had really any problems with that. But really that's the only roadblock that we've had is meeting in person or not meeting in person.
Okay. For me, as far as like SOAR coordination, some challenges. So usually our SOAR practitioners meetings here in Southern Nevada, we were able to meet in person. However, we aren't able to do that. However, it has given us a lot of opportunities as far as coordination as well as training. So the online course, again, it is available online. It is free. You can do it at your own pace. Our in-person trainings for the SOAR Nevada specific process, we have been able to kind of expand our reach. So normally we were only able to do these in person in Las Vegas or in Reno. So we have been able to allow those that are in other parts of the state or other parts of the region to be able to participate. So yeah, pretty exciting. So again, thank you very much for participating in today's first summer learning series. So again, specific to SOAR, we do have information about, again, a more deeper dive into the different type of Social Security benefit programs that are available, how disability determinations are made, and then again, talking more about the different type of work programs. So again, registration is still open if you are interested in registering for those.
Thank you, Tiffany, very much. Thank you everyone for participating, and we look forward to having you participate at the next session.